No, but here's the, I mean, food aside, here's the reality about most people's life in their business, in their marriage, and how they meal prep and how they go to the gym. They don't plan and they don't prep. And then they wonder how they are, what they are in this present moment, which is feeling lethargic and shitty and behind all the time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Life by the Horns, all bull and no bullshit, man. What's up, Dustin? How are you today? And what's up, Adrian? How are you today?
I'm good, man. 7 out of 10, still waking up, but I'm good.
7 out of 10.
Hello,
what
gentlemen.
About you?
See you guys. Good morning.
Yeah, well, good morning, man. So today we're going to be talking about this idea of meal prepping your life. You know, a lot of people do the whole meal prep thing, man. You know, we're trying to get our chicken and our rice and in these nice little containers so that we can prep for the week, but we totally miss one piece of prepping, and I think that's overall life prepping for the week. For you, Dustin, I'd like to just kind of pose this question. When did prepping for your life start to become like a non-negotiable, and what does that look like, man?
Yeah, so I was in the bodybuilding community like back in my 20s, and that was just a part of what you did, because there was just no way that you could get all the things you needed if you weren't prepared. And one of the takeaways I had from that season of my life was, because you were so structured in all areas, you actually showed up better in business and for your family and everywhere. For probably a 7-year period, I stopped doing all that and became very reactive to hunger, became very reactive to really just letting life kind of run my day and everything, which meant I was eating garbage. I wasn't, I always just felt behind the 8 ball. I was never proactive enough in anything other than business. And up until probably 2-3 years ago, you know, I decided that, hey, this is super important to me again. And this is what it's got to start looking like.
Yeah. Yeah. So like for me, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a meal prepper. It's I'm terrible with that. But on the other side, I think for me, it's more of a life prep. So on Sundays for me, I really have to prepare for my week. Otherwise, man, I'll go into the week and it feels heavy. So it's more of a mental prep for me. I could probably be a little better on the food side though. Like I'm terrible with that, just because there's sometimes when I have done it and you know,
I'm waiting for you to have an epiphany here.
Oh, what I don't
No, I just think this whole fallacy that we tell ourselves, which is like, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, even a couple of weeks ago, I posted my lunch and said that, you know, it took me 20 minutes to prep everything, you know, for the next couple of days. And this guy challenged it and was like, how in the world can you prep all your meals for a couple of days in 20 minutes? I'm like, well, it's super simple. You put rice in a rice cooker and you turn it on and you make an abundance of it for the week. Potatoes I heat up in the microwave when I'm heating up my food anyway. Meat is not hard to cook in bulk, and neither are vegetables. And my recant to people that are like, oh, I just don't have time, is like, look at your life. Like everything about your life, it seems like you're being reactive to. Like you see people, they get up in the morning, they're getting their kids ready, they just grab some random stuff out of the fridge at best. If not, and their system's already in overdrive, they stop at the gas station, they grab a donut or some nasty roller thing and put this terrible food in their body, and then, you know, grab some sort of caffeinated beverage, which I have my own this morning. And then they go to lunch and they eat something terrible, and they just wonder, like, at the end of the day, like, why do I feel so crappy all the time? Well, A, your nervous system's always in overdrive because you're always acting in this reactive state to everything else around you. And then B, you're putting crap in your body all the time. And it doesn't take that much time. Like I watch even you guys as team members, and I go with you guys sometimes, but when, you know, going to lunch takes, you know, a couple minutes to decide, unless you go to the same place like we do all the time, a couple of minutes to walk there, 30 minutes to eat the food, couple of minutes to come back. And if I've prepped my meal, like it took me 10 minutes to sit there, say a short prayer, enjoy my food, and then get back to it. So it just, I just think it's just funny how people make this excuse that they don't have time.
Yeah, I always make the excuse because, well, okay, so I'm going to give you my excuse, right? So my excuse is typically I can prep for myself, but prepping for my entire family is a total pain in the ass, right? So prepping for myself, for instance, like is, I can make a bunch of chicken, a bunch of rice, and I'm good. But everybody in the family eats something different, right? I don't like the chicken and rice over and over again. So typically a lot of times I just either eat what we're cooking for the week or for the next couple of days. And when you got like 7 people in the family to feed, it's a little bit challenging.
And do you need to prep for your entire family? Because I don't prep for my entire family.
Well,
I don't expect my kids to eat the same things I do.
yeah, I think the reality is I don't want to cook twice. These are all excuses, man. I just like eating my wings. How about that?
No, but here's the, I mean, food aside, here's the reality about most people's life in their business, in their marriage, and how they meal prep and how they go to the gym. They don't plan and they don't prep. And then they wonder how they are, what they are in this present moment, which is feeling lethargic and shitty and behind all the time. Yeah. And then there's so much power in prior preparation prevents piss poor performance, as Ray Lewis would say. There's so much power in that. And people are just full of excuses, but they don't make an excuse for Netflix time. They don't. It's just a lack of prioritization.
I can act as devil's advocate here, just right in the middle of two very different men with leading very different lifestyles. If you had to take a average male, say between 30s and 40s, 85 to 100 kilogram. So research shows if you're looking at 8 hours of office work, 1 hour of gym, family time, that's maybe walk or playing, traffic, traffic requires calories, and let's say 30 minutes of sex, all right? Just on that, you need between 3,000 and 3,500 calories. Dustin, I'd love your take on that.
Yeah, so my take on it, first and foremost, is, I can eat 3,500 calories of clean energy, and it's a ton of food. Like if I put that in front of a normal person, they would go, oh my God, that's so much food. And then I can show them 3,500 calories of garbage, and it's not a ton of food. And it's just laden with a bunch of processed crap and fats, a lot of highly refined carbohydrates. And every time you eat those meals, you feel terrible after the fact. And there's a lot biologically that's going on inside of somebody when they're doing that. So you get these massive swings of increased blood sugar. Most of these people don't work out, so they don't utilize the stuff. It gets stored as fat. Most people are in large part in a deficit from their daily protein requirement that they need, which, I mean, for males, it's super important, but for females too. I mean, when it comes to hormone production, you absolutely need this in your life. And so many people, like, we used to joke at the gym when people were like, well, I'm following the diet and I'm doing the things, but I still don't look the way. And it was like, well, your body doesn't lie. When are we snacking? And there's all these hidden calories too that people eat. Like I see it here in this co-working space. There's an abundance of free snacks. And you'll see somebody eating a can of tuna and stuff and telling me as I'm heating up my food, they're like, oh, I meal prep too. And, I'm doing better, but they look the same a year later. It's because they're also eating the Pop-Tarts and they're eating the Rice Krispie treats and the peanuts and everything else that's here. And so there's a massive difference. You can eat the same amount of caloric intake, but there's a massive difference in eating good stuff that your body actually needs and the stuff that you don't. And even when I'm in seasons of growth, like the amount of clean carbohydrates that I have to eat, for me, it's disgusting. I'm like, oh my God, this is way too much. But it's amazing how if you treat your body well and gradually work your way into this, that it actually utilizes these nutrients and you create better body composition. You don't have the brain fog and all that stuff that goes along with it. So,
yeah. How'd you learn about all that, man?
I went to school for it, first of all. No, so I had massive body image issues when I was, younger in life, bro. Dude, it's it's nonstop. But I had massive body image issues. I was a short, fat kid, and then I found out what bulimia was. I could eat the food that I wanted, and then I could just throw it up, and then that created other issues in my life. Then I was extremely skinny and brittle, very weak. And then when I found out what bodybuilding was, I got Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and I read it cover to cover. I thought it was amazing. And a lot of like old school information in it. And then at one point, I was asked the question, if you could do whatever you wanted to do in life, what would you do? And I said, well, I'd want to be a bodybuilding coach. So I went to school for exercise science and kinesiology. And I learned a lot of great stuff there. I learned a lot more outside of it in the bodybuilding community. And so many folks are probably like, well, I'm not a bodybuilder. Everything you learn inside of that community is how to optimize your body for best performance. And that, you can be a mom and a dad and still follow a lot of those same things. You don't have to eat as much as them, but when it comes down to protein requirements, healthy fats, because you do need fats, and there are healthy ones that are super good for you. There's just so much stuff there that is so important that a lot of other people should lean into.
If you're running $1 million business, but growth is stalled, then this message is for you. I'm Blake from Best Life Group, and we've helped businesses break through revenue ceilings. You've probably tried everything to break through. Complex funnels, expensive ad campaigns, chasing the next big trend. It's exhausting, isn't it? And frustrating when the needle barely moves. Well, here's the thing. Growing your business isn't about throwing Hail Marys and hoping for a touchdown. It's about consistency, moving the ball down the field with first downs. That's where our 25% rule comes in. It's straightforward. Drive 25% more quality traffic to your website, convert 25% more of that traffic into leads and sales, then increase the value of each customer by 25%. These aren't massive changes, but together they'll add up to major yardage. We've used this approach with hundreds of businesses in your revenue range. The result? They've consistently broken through plateaus, often doubling their income without the stress of always swinging for the fences. Want to see how we can apply this game plan to your business? Let's talk strategy. Book a free 20-minute session with our team. Click below to schedule your session now, and in just 20 minutes, you'll get a fresh perspective on your current playbook. We'll get clarity on what's stopping your forward progress, get a clear picture of where you stand versus where you could be, and share some case studies from other business owners that we've helped. When it makes sense, we'll discuss how we can work together to make the same happen for you. No pressure, no hype, just a straightforward conversation about moving your business down the field, one first down at a time. So let's turn those steady gains into a major victory for your business.
Yeah, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions then, because about the fitness industry and nutrition as a whole?
Well, the food pyramid is a lie. I mean, it was put together, basically so how we could, pad the pockets of the largest, food conglomerates in the United States or the world. So there's a lot of misinformation there. I mean, at the bottom of the pyramid, you've got this, monstrosity of carbohydrates. And when you look into it, you see bread and pasta and all this stuff, which highly refined carbohydrates are not super great for you. You can have them in moderation. Protein's a small sliver. And then a lot of people would say like, well, yeah, but I only need like 0.3 grams per pound of body. That's a lie. You could do anything to an extreme, but generally speaking, depending on the body and the performance you're looking for, that pyramid's not going to serve you. I think a lot of the diets that are out there are all a lie. Carnivore is not sustainable. It's not good for you for long periods of time. I think the only one that I've leaned into that definitely has some benefits and can give you balance, the idea of paleo, sure, that works well. But these crazy fad diets that are super restrictive, they're just not good for you long term.
So we've talked about meal prep and fitness and nutrition. Let's shift a little bit to more mental and emotional prep. Are those in your life specifically? Are those different? Or what do those look like?
Yeah, I mean, they all have their own metaphorical containers as well. So, the food really has a container that it goes in. But no, I mean, I have spots in my day and in my week where that stuff has a place. Like for example, when I wake up first thing in the morning, my alarm goes off, I hit snooze, and I know for the next 9 minutes, and some folks that are highly disciplined will be like, oh my God, you already failed first thing of the day. No, it's intentional. I give myself those 9 minutes to literally just lay there, feel how I'm feeling. If my heart rate feels elevated for whatever reason, I need to, where is that coming from? I'll do some breathing exercises to try to, bring that back to where it needs to be. If I have any pains or anything like that, trying to understand those other than muscle soreness. And I really just lay there and then also envision or, look into the future. Like, how do I want to show up for my day? Like, what stuff do I have going on? How do I want to show up to this? How do I want to show up to date night? How do I want to show up to lunch today? How do I want to show up to meetings I have with the team, for content that I got to record later, like all those things. Like, how do I want to show up for this? And then really lean into, that, like, okay, if I want to show up in those ways, what does that version of me look like? And it's just priming myself for what's going to happen throughout the day. Once my alarm then officially goes off, I get out of bed, I start to get ready. I don't check my phone for notifications and emails and all the shit, because it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, like, and I'm sure everyone else has experienced this too, like, even if you felt really great and you start checking your email notifications first thing and you see some stupid comment somebody left you, and now you want to react, okay, well, now your nervous system's in overdrive. We don't need that first thing in the morning. And then same with emails. You get an email from a client that says, hey, we need to talk. What do you generally think? Like, oh God, what went wrong? And it could be something super great, but there's just no point in starting your day out that way. So for me, it really is like that first hour is very intentionally slow. It's intentional, but it's slow, because I don't want to ramp my system up. If I'm going to have caffeine, I wait 60 to 90 minutes before I have any of that. And then beyond that, and we have to do much better at this. We've talked about it. We've practiced it a couple of times, but being intentional, at lunchtime, like eat a good meal, but then also go on a walk, because we know how good that is for us. It also builds community though. Yeah. Like, we've had some of our best conversations going on those walks. Absolutely. And then, other, things that we've just started implementing was, a freaking 5 to 10 minute meditation or visualization before getting back to work, really just to reset. I love the visualizations because it's all future pacing, which, and leaning into like this next version of you and rewiring your brain so that it comes, to fruition. I didn't realize I meditate as much as I thought. I thought meditation was, you'd sit on the floor Indian style and you just block everything out of your mind. Up until I learned about all these different versions of it, I generally don't drive into work or leave work listening to anything. It's just time to sit with my own thoughts, which is very, very powerful. I don't listen to a lot of music anymore. I don't actually listen to many podcasts anymore, because I don't need more information coming in. I need to synthesize what's already there. And then other things that I really enjoy doing, reading intentionally, not just reading to say that I read, but reading to actually absorb the information. That I will do. And then I'm very intentional about my time with my family.
That's like a daily thing for you.
Right.
Is there anything you do differently for your week?
Yes. So Sundays, to me, it's like it's a very sacred day. I mean, obviously from a faith-based perspective, but Sundays I like to go on a walk first thing in the morning by myself, just get sunlight, experience all the beautiful things around me, think about how I want to lean into the day. We do church as a family together, but then beyond that, I generally try to carve out like 30 minutes to an hour, which is not very much, to look forward into my week, of anything that I need to get rid of that's not, not very serving to me. Because I'm sure there are plenty of people that get these calendar invites now from external sources that are just trying to get you to show up to a thing. I'll cancel that. If it's a meeting that's not super important, I'll cancel it. I'll try to push meetings, into blocks, so it's all at one time versus fragmented throughout the day. Anything that I know that's on my plate that I have to get done because I'm not being bothered by anybody in that moment, if I can get a quick win, I'll just go ahead and get it done. Scheduled emails at that point, because I don't think it's super great to email your team on Sundays, but scheduling stuff if need be, to when it should arrive, I think is, a really good thing for me to be ahead of the game. And then really just, where are there areas of opportunity in my week to, basically foster or harvest or create more? And I actually really get excited when I see a lot of free time in my week, especially on Fridays, like Friday afternoons. I mean, that's my time to do something that I really enjoy. And it could be playing with AI and automations and all that kind of stuff. It could be, leaning into some additional coaching from a mentor of mine or something like that. But I like to go ahead and look at the entirety of it, versus most people, they just wake up and react to every day. And that's just not a place that I've found that my energy is utilized very well. I like to be a lot more intentional.
What about you, Adrian? Any input you have?
I can tell you, between the three of us, of three very different men with very different lifestyles, the one denominator is we all take time to compartmentalize our schedules, and designate time. And that's such a good thing. But an interesting fact that I think is a really modern problem. Research of 60-year-old men in 1987 and under 35s now, so we're looking middle millennials, have the same amount of testosterone. And the effect on testosterone is sometimes cortisol, so our stress hormone just impacting that chemical imbalance in our minds, but also not fueling our mind.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to chime on there is I have also heard a similar study that gentlemen that were in their 50s in the early 2000s have more testosterone than men in their early 20s now.
Wow.
And so with both of those studies, like, you really have to lean into food again. Like, so many people are eating all this processed garbage. Like, it's not lost on me that when you travel and go to another country and you eat like a king and you don't gain any weight, that the quality of their food is significantly better because there's less crap in it. But then the other side of this, and yes, testosterone is super important for men, but it is for women as well. The other side of this, though, is, that this idea of, chemicals in our brain and everything else. What we didn't have in the 80s and 90s was this massive abundance of screen time. And so you see these, I see it in my own kids sometimes, like they're scrolling through Instagram or freaking Snapchat or YouTube videos, and it's just like dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine. Like, our brain wasn't designed for that. And we are hugely overwhelming people, and they're exhausted all the time. Why do you think it is? Because you have your brain on overdrive. And I don't know what the actual number is, but the average amount of screen time today is compared to like when I was a kid. It's got, like, I remember playing video games for a half an hour to an hour, but we went outside and we played football and we played hockey and we played baseball and we built forts and, like, we did stuff. And you just don't see that as much anymore. And I made a joke recently, looking at young men in their 20s now that aren't super excited about going on dates and being with chicks and all this stuff. They'd rather just sit in front of their phones. All I thought about in my early 20s was going on dates and hanging out with chicks and my friends, not my phone. Yeah, we watched some TV and movies and stuff once in a while together, but we lived life in community. And that's just not a thing anymore. Their community is online. And no wonder they have so many issues connecting with people in person. Their communication skills are in the toilet because they don't have that practice in their day-to-day.
So to give you the stats, among US children aged 0 to 8 at the moment, it's on average 2 hours of screen time per day. And then from 13 to 18, it goes up to 8 hours and 30 minutes.
That's a full-time job.
Right. I'm telling you, I've had to get on my kids about it, like, and set boundaries, man. And we talk about, it's interesting. You even, like you said, like being a teenager and wanting to date and get out of here. You remember wanting to turn 15 so you can get your learners and then learner's permit and then turning 16 so you can get your driver's license. A lot of kids don't even want to go out and they're not even trying to drive, which is wild because they're sitting at home and they've got their screens. And it's wild, man. But I want to close out by doing some more rapid fire questions here. I've got you 7 and I want you to answer as quickly as you can. So, number 1, what's the prep that you hate the most?
Ooh, I don't have one that I hate, honestly.
Okay. Which prep makes the biggest impact?
Meals.
One thing you always forget to prep?
Sometimes my gym shoes.
What's the part of prep that exposes you the most?
The only thing I could think is if I do not spend the time on Sunday to do the 30-minute to 1 hour prep for the week, I definitely see it show up in ways during the week that I obviously did not want it to.
Yeah. What if your week had a theme song? What would it be?
The only thing I can think of out the gate is Eye of the Tiger, man.
What's harder, prepping food or prepping your mindset?
Mindset.
Okay. And what's one thing you refuse to prep, but you know you should?
I got nothing, man, because I'm super intentional with all this stuff.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, my takeaway from this episode is I need to start prepping my meals. So
that you're not snacking all day over there.
Yeah, I have been snacking a lot lately. But yeah, man, guys, if you got any value from this, I would just say, a lot of people prep. You might meal prep. You might prep a little, but make sure you're not just prepping one thing. Prep everything. Prep your life. Prep your mindset. Prep your spirituality. Prep for your family. But if you want a different week, you've got to start somewhere. Start differently on Sunday, and if you want to have a better day, start in the morning.
Let me say one more thing though, because I don't want people to lean into this in any capacity and think that if you're not doing everything, then you're not doing well. Start out small. Because one of the things that I also think is super important with this is there were times in my life where I thought everything had to be perfect and I had to live the perfect day every day. And the second that something didn't go right, then I was mad at myself. And there was a lot of vicious self-talk going on. Start out small. Just start doing meal prep for lunch if you commute consistently and see how that serves you a little bit better. Then start doing it for, a couple of more meals or whatever. Start prepping and being intentional about going on a 15-minute walk every day. What you don't need to do is overwhelm yourself with, I'm going to prep all my meals for the week. I'm going to prep all my workout gear and I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to make sure I've prepped an hour every Sunday to do. You'll overwhelm yourself. And also if you have a day in which, it didn't happen, like give yourself a little bit of grace because you don't want to go back the other way. It's okay to not live a perfect day.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so start small. We're going to start prepping and you guys can hold me accountable on the next episode. So as always, guys, grab life by the horns. We'll see you next time.